Huntington Center. This is Ricky. May I help you? Okay. Well, if it rang to my desk, that means she's not sitting at hers. So she's probably on the campus, just not in her office. I can send you back to her voicemail. Oh no, no, it's sunshine. It's cold, but here in Hazel, it did not stick at all. Okay, hang on just a moment. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
You hear me?
Yes.
Good.
Mute. Ricky, you're indicating everyone. I know Judge Faison just sent an email that he won't be able to join us, but we're thinking everyone else will be online.
I hope so. I haven't heard anything to the contrary, so
Oh.
we'll see.
Okay.
At the part meanwhile, look away. I'm doing some ordering on Amazon for shopping on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just reading some emails and newsletters that keep popping up. I probably need to unsubscribe to. Hello, Jennifer.
So remind me where you're from, each of you. 'Cause I see a note from Deborah about bad weather there in Craven County.
Mhm. I'm from New Hanover.
How's the weather there?
Cold, but we had some snow overnight, but it's all melted now. Wasn't too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Craven too, and our schools and courts are closed today, but it's pretty much melted already.
Yeah.
I
Our
mean, it's
school's
cold,
closed here
but
too, but
All right. Another email just came in from Jasmine. Same thing. Due to inclement weather, offices are closed. So we may not have a lot of people in Craven joining us
yeah.
because I know that's 3 right now that can't be here with the judge.
right. Mhm.
Oh, there's Karen.
Karen, can you hear us? Karen, I see your microphone is muted. If you will put your cursor down on the bottom left of the screen, there should be a mute, unmute.
I got it.
Got it. Great.
I'm driving this morning, so I had to pull over.
Okay. Where are you driving at, Karen?
I just left my parents in Vanceboro, and I'm heading towards Washington, so I'm at the rest area.
Is the
between-
weather okay there and the roads okay?
They've got about 5 inches at their house.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Unusual for us. It's nice.
Yeah, it looks pretty. We have almost nothing right here in Trent Woods, Karen. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I live in the city of New Bern, and we came out to my parents last night just to stay because I knew Alexa would be out of school today. So she's out having fun with her cousins playing.
Okay, I see more joining us. Jennifer, my aunt and uncle used to live in Trent Woods years ago.
Okay. Yeah, it's stuck to the grass a little bit, but nothing on the driveway even.
Somebody who just joined us, you're getting some audio feedback. There we go. Yeah, if you try to join with your computer and call in on the phone, you will get a feedback loop. All right, we've got about 4 minutes to go before we get started. And one of you, I don't recognize your name, but it's like COMRVAL. All we can see is the top of your head. If you can adjust your camera. Oh, okay. There we go. Gotcha. Okay, it is 10 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. And the goal is to keep the time to 1 hour or less. Thank you all for joining us. Again, my name is Ricky Hill, and I'm here in the mountains of North Carolina, where we got 80 bits of snow, and within 30 minutes of it quitting, it all melted. Now, you would think the mountains would get a whole lot more, but we didn't. So anyway, let's go ahead and do a quick roll call. If you'll announce who you are and again what agency you're with. Let's start with Miss Taylor in the corner.
Yes, Michelle Taylor with New Hanover County.
Okay, Jennifer, we need to unmute. There you go.
Yeah, there I am. So Craven County Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, Board of Trustees of our community college, and Craven Pamlico Reentry Council.
Do you know Blake Belcher?
I know Blake Belch in Pitt County.
Okay, there's a Blake Belcher. He used to be a probation officer there in Craven, there in New Bern.
Okay, I don't know him, but
Okay,
I'm sure I know somebody who does know him.
all right. Next on the call, go ahead.
Karen Thomas, and I'm with Magnolia Landing for Women.
Okay, and last.
Valerie Comrie, Robertson County Family Treatment Court.
Okay, and Valerie, I was trying to find you the other day at the NC Fads.
Uh-huh.
Willie Miles is the guy that says he knows Judge Faison. Actually went to Judge Faison's mother's funeral. So apparently very good connection with the family there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know Willie. He used to work here for years in New Hanover County.
Hmm.
So what is he doing now?
We were out. Valerie and I were at a NC Fads training this past week. That's North Carolina Foundation for Alcohol and Drug Studies.
Okay.
And so that was Sunday through Wednesday. We attended that, and Willie was at that.
Oh, okay.
So good information, good training.
Yes.
Okay. So our topic, again, is recovery court. That's what we were going to work on, is trying to get recovery court information, resources to help Craven County get recovery court in their area. Now, according to Judge Faison, he emailed us all this morning. He's still working on getting the connection from his chief judge to the Craven County chief judge. And again, my understanding of this whole process, the way it has to work, is you have to have the chief judge on board, because the chief judge is the one who assigns one of the other judges the collateral duty of drug court. And if it appears I'm looking sideways, I've got a larger monitor to my side, and it's easier to see the screen that way. So that's why I'm not looking directly in the camera. So that is the process. The chief judge has to be on board first. Chief judge would assign somebody to have the collateral duty of the drug court. This would be in addition to their normal duties of during court processing. So what they have to consider is, do they have the personnel to manage this? Do they have the funds to run something like that? Where are they going to hold it? There's all kind of issues that the chief judge has to deal with before they will approve anything like that. An example would be here in my area, we are short 2 judges. So there's no way with the current caseload our court system has in District 10 that we can take this on, because we don't have enough people as it is. Once you get that, and if you have to have an extra judge, that is a state process, because the judges are controlled by the NC court system, the judicial branch of our state legislature. So they are the ones that control that, because it's an appointment, and also because they are state employees, their salaries have to be in the state budget. Typically, at a minimum, to run a drug court, it requires 1 judge, 1 prosecutor, and 1 clerk. On the average, just their salaries alone for 1 year are $225,000. So that's state money that covers theirs. Now, once you get the other part of recovery court going, nonprofits and other entities can handle that. So it sounds like we may be at a slight standstill or slight pause until we can get the chief judge on board, and Judge Faison is going to continue to work on that. But what we can do is start looking at what are the other resources that we do have in the area that we can bring into the court process. I don't know if you read all the documents that I sent out, the ones from NC Court System. There's also the National Association of Drug Court Professionals. They send out documentations, and there are links to the website in Pennsylvania, I think it was, where they also have best practices and information. And there's even online training you can take to learn more about drug courts, recovery courts. And again, in North Carolina, we have 6 different types. So we didn't determine which one that we would want to start with. I know for our area, what we're focusing on right now is looking at Veterans Recovery Court, because we have a lot of veterans in our community, and our veterans programs are noticing that the veterans are getting arrested more because they're in the bars more, drinking more. So they're thinking PTSD and other issues are now causing this to come to light, where the veterans need extra support. So you can focus on one type as well if you have the resources. And being there in Craven and Carteret County, Onslow, down there where you have Camp Lejeune, Cherry Point, you'd have a strong base of veterans in your area. Any questions, any comments so far?
Yeah, I think that the Veterans Court has been discussed a little bit. I know that over the last couple years, I don't know that it's actually in place any longer, but there was an opioid task force here in Craven County. And I think one of their recommendations was to put in place some sort of drug treatment court. Mm-hmm. So there have been discussions, I believe, at the county level with the chief judge. So I think it's a question of finding somebody who's willing to take on as you described it, the collateral work that would be required.
Right.
To do that.
Good. Well, thank you.
And I know that Deborah Waller, that was from the Craven County DSS, that was there at the meeting that day.
Right.
She was going to be in a meeting with Judge Mills a couple weeks ago, which she did not attend, but her boss did. And she said that it was brought up, and his comment was, "We just need money."
That's the typical comment.
Yeah, so, that was as far as that went.
My understanding is that there are grants available for these kinds of, at least for some of the additional personnel that you need, right? I mean, I think that a coordinator type person, or maybe an additional clerk or something of that nature, I thought that there were grant monies available for those types of positions.
There are some monies available, I believe, through like SAMHSA or CADCA or other programs like that.
Governor's Crime Commission, maybe.
Yeah, they may help you do the groundwork to get started. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, because I haven't spoken. I've been trying to get a hold of the 2 co-chairs for our judicial branch in North Carolina to find out how that works, because the judge and the prosecutor and the clerk are state employees, so therefore it's got to be state budgeted funds. Right. I don't know if we can get a grant and then give the money to the state for the salaries. So, but there are other things that can be done.
Well, I think in New Hanover, and our folks in New Hanover might be able to speak to this, but I know at one point, drug treatment court there, I thought, was state funded. And when the state funding went away, then the county stepped up to fill that gap, because they knew that it was actually a cost savings to have the court in place. Yes. Am I correct?
Right. The county just funds the coordinator positions.
Okay.
So they don't fund any of the state required
state employees. Okay.
Right.
And that's pretty much typical.
Mm-hmm.
But again, what I was going to suggest, I mean, you bring up a good point. There are other things that are connected with drug court, or that drug court feeds into, that's not part of the state funding process, like a coordinator, like medical assisted treatment, like drug testing, counseling, programs like NA or AA, where they have meetings and requirements to go to things. Those are the things we can be looking at right now. What I was going to suggest is we may want to start considering what are the current resources you already have in Craven County, and kind of build upon that. No need to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Let's find out what we do have and how do we connect to it.
Yeah, you also have to think about your probation department, because they're key on your team. And if the probation officers already have like designated high-risk caseloads for drug offenders, and if there's willingness there to designate someone to be on your treatment court team, because one of the things we find here is that with our probation officers and the way they allocate their caseloads, they have a caseload of treatment court participants and they have a regular caseload. And
Right.
that poses a challenge with, you know,
Mhm.
the level of burnout and stress and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
So your probation officer is, our probation department is key, especially if you're going to have a post adjudication model. So all your participants will be on probation. So
And
probation needs
I
to be
did reach out. Yeah, I did reach out to all of those different entities
Mhm.
when after our meeting, and I got names from each of those, which I knew some of the people. Of course, I talked with probation. I talked with ALE. Of course, my connect with the college, the hospital, because there's mental health social workers that are at the hospital. And I told them what was in the works, and I just needed to find out who our go-to may be. So I
Mhm.
got their information. Everyone I spoke with was very interested and on board. They thought this was a great idea, and they were willing to help do whatever we needed to do, as well as the sheriff's department. Of course, spoke with Chip and David McFadden's going to be our go-to on that one. So
Good deal. Thank you, Karen, for doing that. If you would share those names with me later on so we can keep them in our database together.
I will. I've got their contact information. I can just
Perfect. Thank you. I know other groups, and you mentioned probation officer, because of what we're trying to do is set things in a positive manner. I know many other recovery court processes call them compliance officers. It's still a deputy, it's still a police officer with a probation background, but what they do in the recovery court process is just follow up with the person to ensure that they're in compliance with the recovery court requirements. Like, for example, they may do a home visit and say, okay, this is the wrong kind of mouthwash, it's got alcohol, you can't have that. And they confiscate it and make sure that people understand what are the do's and don'ts. They will periodically go by a person's work just to make sure they are going to work and things are going okay. So they check for compliance of the recovery court program. And again, it's just a more sensitive term.
Right.
So we can work on that. What about, do you already have any kind of substance abuse counseling programs? Are there any transitional housing spots in Craven County? What about medical assistance treatment if we need that? Would that be a clinic or a hospital, or is there a standalone program that's doing that? What do you know about this?
We do have transitional housing. Of course, there's a number of Oxford houses that are in Craven County, male and female. And then we have RLM, which is Reviving Lives Ministries. That's for women only. They have, of course, we have a strong AA, NA community, Celebrate Recovery. We also have in our area. PORT would be our medication assistance program that is there.
Good.
So.
Okay. If we can start getting that stuff to the Recovery Alliance, what they're working on is an asset map. And so we would actually be able to put that data in there so anybody can go to this asset map and say, I'm in Craven County, I'm looking for, click, and it pops up. It's kind of like our personal version of Google Maps, but it's data we put in there that we want people to have access to.
Sure.
So go ahead and get that stuff to me. Anybody knows of anything else?
And I do know a lot of those that I just named were at the Alliance or the summit that we were at. So
Perfect. Good. Okay.
And I guess we can just double check, Karen, to make sure there isn't anything from the task force that they put together that we don't know about.
Right.
yeah.
I reached out to Jasmine because when I spoke with Chip that day, he told me he really wanted me to get in connection with her. And Jasmine Kennedy, she is on the opioid task force for Craven County. She was hired.
Okay.
And so I told her we were going to have a call this morning and that after we could get together. So and just to see what she does. I'm really not sure what she does in a day-to-day.
I don't know that either. The person who invited me to the summit was Tyler Harris, and I thought he sort of chaired that task force from the county's perspective, or sort of was the head administrative person. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was looking. I have Jasmine's business card on my desk, but it's under a pile of paper. So she was invited to be part of this group as well. Once I met her there in New Bern, I did add her to our call list. So she did get the invitation to join this call today.
Okay. But I thought that they had put together some sort of list of resources as part of that task force. Although I don't have it. And I have also spoken to a doctor by the name of Jean Basnight, and she works for, I think, what is the Moorhead Treatment Center. I've got her card somewhere.
Okay.
Mhm.
desk, so I will find that. But I know that they had some conversations with Port. They run 2 different clinics, one in Moorhead and one in Jacksonville. And they were interested, and they're outpatient, but that they were interested in opening an additional one in New Bern, which would be helpful because I think we don't have necessarily enough capacity at Port, was my understanding.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, get all that information to myself or Valerie, because with the Recovery Alliance, we do have documents where we can add this information in there and it can be fed to other venues like the asset map and things like that. So get all that information in there. And again, if you come across somebody that's not on our call list that should be, send the name in, we'll add them to the list. They'll get invitations for any future calls we may have.
Yeah, and I guess the question I've got, since you have, more information on these programs getting started up, I mean, I work at another facility, obviously, and I'm on this committee, but once the green light is given, yes, we would like this, who's going to actually do the footwork if they're not employed? How does that work? Like,
That's something we have to figure out as a team.
yeah, okay.
Now, it may be at that point, as Jennifer mentioned, there are grants out there. If we get the green light from the judge and we can get things going, we could possibly get a grant from like SAMHSA or somebody else to help start doing the initial groundwork to start pulling this together. So there could be a paid coordinator for a year process to do this.
Right.
So there's some groups that have startup money, and then other groups actually fund the recovery court once it's already established. So there's 2 pots of money out there.
Okay.
I'll do some research on that. I mean, because actually I heard, I have a friend who went to CADCA. Are y'all familiar with CADCA?
Mm-mm.
Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America. It's a big national organization. They just had their national meeting 2 weeks ago in the DC area. And one of the things that was announced at CADCA is that a lot of the SAMHSA grants are going to be disappearing. CDC's taking them over.
Mm.
So that'd be September, October timeframe is what they're speculating. So I'm not sure how SAMHSA is going to publicize all that, but again, that was shared with that national group of about 4,000 or 5,000 people. So
Okay.
we'll see how that works, but I'll research the different grants, what's out there. I'm also still working because there's a gentleman who is the COO of the National Association of Medical Professionals. He's been invited here 2 or 3 times, and 2 or 3 times at the last second schedule conflicts. So now he owes me. So once we get something up and running, I'll try to invite him, Terrence Walton's his name, to come and present to our group again, maybe have another meeting there in the New Bern area with our team. And he can kind of explain how all this works. So that may be helpful. Then we could bring in the other stakeholders like law enforcement, doctors, whoever else, judges, get them all there together. That may be benefit.
Yes.
Okay, good deal.
Okay.
Anything else anybody wants to report out what they've done? And again, Judge Station sent his in an email. He's still working on his.
Yeah, he did send me some information to be able to come there and sit in on some of the proceedings and the graduations. He gave me some dates, so I appreciate that. And I guess Ms. Taylor, I'm to be in contact with you to set that up.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Karen, if you're, why don't we try and do that together and we'll both.
Okay. Perfect.
That'd be great. Mhm.
Oh, I see a puppy in the background there, Miss Jennifer.
Oh, yes. He's kind of going in and out a little bit. That's,
Aw.
we're still doing a little bit of Florence recovery stuff. So I've got folks working downstairs. So he keeps
Aw.
coming in and out. So this is Winston, everybody.
Aw.
All right.
Hi, Winston.
Anybody have any questions, anything else they want to share? I mean, obviously there's still some things we can't get done yet, but we got a few things to start right now. And if we don't have anything extra, then we can actually end this call early. Valerie, do you have all that you need for right now for the notes to update the documents?
Yes. From what I gather, we just need information to be reported to put in the database. And, due to the inclement weather, a lot of folk could not be on the call.
Yeah.
So are we going to be putting a date for our next meeting?
Let me try to do like a Google poll and find out another good date and time. and when everybody could be able to go on the call, and I'll get back. But I know Deborah likes to keep track of our notes, like who was on the call, our next steps. And so give me a day or two to get a Google Docs poll out to our team and see what's available time-wise. I would say maybe 2 to 3 more weeks out. Try to keep it 2 weeks out at a time. Anybody have any comments on that?
No, but I will get those list of names out to you guys. I have them. So
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
I
Well-
can't quite see all of the names on the call.
Okay, go through your names again so Valerie can capture your name.
Michelle Taylor.
Okay.
Jennifer Dacey.
Aaron Thomas.
And me, Ricky.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you
good
very
to-
much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if there is nothing else, thank you all for joining. Thank you for what we have done so far, and keep up the good work. I mean, I probably will at some point, just because of my job here in the mountains and my requirements here, eventually, I'm going to stay with you as long as I can, but at some point I will pass this baton to somebody more local who can be more feet on the ground and getting things done a lot more. But
Can
I
I
will help.
ask-
Yes.
And Valerie may know the answer to this. I know obviously there's a drug court, treatment court in New Hanover. My understanding is there's also one in Pitt County. And Karen, since that's close to us as well, I wondered if you had any familiarity with that court. I was trying to confirm that it was still up and running.
You know, the DA was at our table, Mr. Ferris,
Right,
and he did reach out to us. It was a week or so after the meeting,
right.
and he said that they were just, if I understood him correctly, just a couple weeks to month in getting that in stone. I mean, they've been working towards it for the past 2 years.
Okay.
So I can reach out to him and see also about us going there.
Well, I did see, I found online a memorandum of understanding that they had put together that had all the, various parties at the table, the Sheriff's Department and Greenville Police Department and so forth. But I just couldn't confirm that it was actually in operation. So that sort of makes sense.
Right.
I'll
Okay.
double check if you want to go to the NC Court's website and
Mhm.
just type in recovery, it'll pull up a listing. At present, there are 16 counties out of our 100 that have recovery courts.
Right.
And I don't know, like one county may have 2 or 3 different kinds of courts, but they just
Right.
list it as the county that has it. My understanding that in the current state budget, which is I guess still pending from last year,
Mhm.
there were 4 additional ones being added. But
Okay.
until the funding approval, the governor signed off, it wouldn't be a fit. I know one closest to me will be Haywood County now, which is an hour and a half
Right.
from me.
Right.
So
The
those,
closest to us would be Beaufort, Jennifer.
Okay. I
So-
didn't realize Beaufort had one. Okay.
They're
So if you
going
go to-
to. Yeah.
All right.
if you go to NC Courts and do Google recovery in the search engine, it'll give you the county, and then
Right.
you click on that link and it'll give you all the contacts.
Okay. I think Pitt was on that list because I did look at the AOC site, but I just, and I thought a number of years ago, several of our county commissioners and our county manager had visited
Mhm.
that drug court in Pitt County. So that's why I'm a little confused about, what the history of it is exactly.
Oh, that's one thing. You make a good point. I should have mentioned this earlier. One thing that may be helpful, not a requirement, don't need their approval, but you may want to consider any kind of like county commissioners, city commissioners, any kind of meetings like that where you have those kind of officials. Because this is a state process, a judicial process, you don't need their approval, but if you had their support and endorsements, that might be helpful. So if you know some of that, or you can get on the dockets to speak and present about what this idea is, you may want to consider doing that locally and get the word out.
Yes.
And you guys also don't forget about contacting Yolanda Woodhouse as well.
Okay.
She's the manager at AOC and can really direct you in the direction that you need to go.
Okay.
If I may on that, Valerie, I'm going to ask you to not to do that at the moment, because I know when I contacted Yolanda, her first question was, do you have approval from your judge?
Right. Right.
And until my chief judge called her and said, talk to Ricky, she wouldn't talk to me. She said she has to legally follow and get permission from the chief district court judge to share information. Now, if you have a personal contact with her and you can do things, that's great, but that's what she told me officially.
Makes sense.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I mean, I thought that she was open to at least providing just general information.
Oh, she'll send you the resources, and I'll meet those up, but that's about it. All she'll do is say, "Here's some links." Now that she can do, and you can find most of it on their website anyway, NC Courts. Okay, if there are no other comments or anything else to share, we'll go ahead and end this call. Thank you all for being here.
Jennifer,
you.
I'll reach out to Mr. Ferris in Pitt County
Okay,
and
Great.
see if there's maybe a time when we can come, and I'll let you know.
that would be great.
Okay.
Stay safe and stay warm.
Thank you.
You guys
Take
too.
care.
Thanks. Bye.
Breeze blowing wind through my hair. The rain word is a tide don't reach my chair. Sunrise is a fire in the sky. Never been so happy, never felt so high.
Don't forget the postal schedule if you haven't already. I overlooked them. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Okay.